The grand final is over and done with right now. So you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. We are now getting into the silly season of the AFL. A bunch of trade news, reports, and updates, whether it's free agency or whatever it might be. I'll be talking about it all and more with you guys today. Again, before I get into it, if you guys could, just do me a favor by subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like and even turn on the notification bell. That lets you know every time I upload a video on this channel, and it's pretty cool. Again, I've got notifications on for Abella Danger. Every time she uploads a video, I get a little thing on my phone. Again, I'm not saying I'm as cool as her, but just do me a favor, turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. But we'll be starting off with the shortest man in the AFL. The man who I think his height got bumped up to, I think he's like 168 centimeters now, which is pretty interesting. So I can't remember who it is, but there's a picture of a guy online who's like 173 centimeters standing next to this bloke, and it's like a freaking 20 centimeter difference, not 5 centimeters like website claims it is. But Caleb Daniel reportedly weighing up his Bulldogs future with interest coming from North Melbourne. You know what season it is, boys and girls? It's not just AFL trade season, it's freaking hay fever season, man. My nose always looks pink while I make these videos like I'm a drunk. But Caleb Daniel is getting interest from North Melbourne, which, yeah, look, I'm going to be honest here. I don't know how much I really rate Caleb Daniel anymore. I think that this is good for the Dogs if he wants to leave, because you can get like a pick 50 or something back in return for him. It's same thing with McRae. These guys genuinely aren't in the Dogs' best 22 right now, and maybe they do serve purposes on other teams. McRae could probably get a second round pick from the Saints, which we know it's who he's requested a trade to, and North Melbourne would probably give you a third round pick for Caleb Daniel. So if you can make both of these trades happen, it gives you more capital to go into with the draft and continue to go younger, which Beveridge has been like almost trying to push for the last couple of years, which is interesting. But at the end of the day, this is a good move by the Dogs. I don't know how much Caleb Daniel helps out North Melbourne, but it seems like they're really trying to bring in these veterans for a year or two to come and play with these younger guys, set some standards, and make the training, I think, a little bit more intense, which will ultimately improve their team in the long term. Again, they're interested in Jack Darling. I think they've offered him a deal and he's requested a trade there. So adding, I guess, Caleb Daniel to this list, maybe it does make sense. Maybe if they want to bring in a veteran or two who is being proven to be able to help the team he's been on, it could be a good decision. But at the end of the day, does Caleb Daniel play that much at the North Melbourne Football Club? I'm not too sure. He definitely can't get a game right now at the Dogs, even though he did play in their final, I think. He shouldn't probably be getting games for them next year. Maybe on North Melbourne, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. They do need a half-back, I suppose. Again, we know that Shees was playing more up the ground now, in the midfield especially. McKercher wants to play double the midfield next season, and Zach Fisher's just kind of a poo player. So maybe they do need him. I don't know. I think, yeah, this deal could very well get done. Another interesting one by Cal Toomey does suggest that Melbourne has eyes on delisted Saint Tom Campbell as a ruck free agent. They actually want to bring him in, make him a four-club player, sorry. Melbourne has interest in him to be the backup to ruckman Max Gawn. Again, I guess this is an okay one. This just reminds me of like a Sam Naismith signing, if you guys know what I mean. Like, Richmond just needed a backup ruckman, so they went with like the veteran route, and he ended up playing like 4 games for the Tigers, and I guess he did his thing. He was a good clubman for them. He retired with them only after 1 year, but he was there. I guess Tom Campbell, you bring him in with Melbourne, maybe he'll be like a second or third string ruckman. They might even go out and draft another ruck. They literally did so a couple of years with Luke Jackson before he decided to, again, he didn't want to be there anymore, is what I'm trying to say here. He basically left exactly like my dad. But at least they like got something in return. My dad like didn't give me anything. What happened, Dad? I'm still waiting for my milk that you promised me. Yeah, this is a weird one. I don't know. I don't think Tom Campbell is really AFL level anymore. But if the D's want to hold off from drafting a ruckman for another year and Max Gorn were to unfortunately get injured, which again, touch wood, that wouldn't, of course, happen, then yes, I can see a situation where maybe they go and just be like, look, we want you to be one of the last men we add to our roster. We'll bring you in. You can be on like whatever the AFL's version of the veteran minimum is, and you can come in and be our second or third string ruckman. And I guess Tom Campbell would accept that. I mean, he'd be on his fourth club, which is pretty insane to think. But yeah, I guess it's not the worst situation. Not really too much of a trade, like, confirmation rumor here, but more of like a suggestion and rumor that I'm thinking of starting because I remember hearing about it. But there is a report here that does say that Gary Rowan is one of 7 cats who have been delisted. And everyone's been talking about Gary Rowan being delisted on Geelong. But no one's talked about how Brandon Parfitt is amongst this list of players who have been delisted from Geelong. A guy who has played well over 100 games for Geelong since 2017 for them. Another guy who is literally a premiership player for them in 2022. And other than this year, has been in the best 22 of one of the best teams in the comp like his whole career. It's really weird to me to think that this guy legitimately just got delisted. And I'm sitting back here and I'm thinking, there is no way that Brandon Parfitt will not be on an AFL team next season. I think there will be about like 5 clubs who will legitimately go after him. And the reality is this is a man who has averaged like 18 to 20 disposals per game in a couple seasons and has been known to be able to hit the scoreboard as a midfielder. Some people will be like, why did he get delisted? Why did Geelong do it? The end of the day is he wasn't fitting into Geelong's midfield, which was already an average midfield. So they needed to look past him. And I think that's good, right? It makes sense. But the reality is he would be able to get a game on a bad team and he would be a good depth player for any contending team or a team looking to contend that would be looking for another player to take a fly on. I think Brandon Parfitt, there's a couple clubs I'm thinking of. First of all, Richmond, right? Richmond have one of the worst midfields, if not the worst midfield in the game. They've got Tim Torano and Jacob Hopper in there, but one of them is always injured, and they've got Dion Prestia in there, who is always injured as well. We know they're going to be hitting the draft pretty big and going after players, you know, like Jagger Smith, it looks like, Finn O'Sullivan potentially, Harvey Langford. End of the day, they'll probably be bringing in like 3 to 5 midfielders in this draft class. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers go up to Brandon Parfitt and be like, look, we like what we see from you. We think maybe having you be a wingman for us, which we kind of need, play some midfield as well, but maybe even play as like a small forward for the Tigers as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they said to him, look, we'll give you like a 2-year deal and we can make this happen. There will 100% be a ton of other teams out there who will be interested in potentially trying to sign Brandon Parfitt, but I think Richmond will be one of those teams that will look at him as a guy who can not only play inside mid, maybe chuck him on the wing, and maybe even have him up forward, which I think the Tigers are kind of really lacking at literally every position. Again, and speaking of players of Richmond being interested in, it is being reported by Cameron Hicks, who I believe is a Tigers insider, that said that Richmond are one of the clubs James Peatling has met with. A little bit after he said that, it actually came out and did say that by Tom Morris, that GWS had been confident this time last week that James Peatling would sign a fresh 3-year deal with the team. He still may, but he spent Sunday and yesterday in Melbourne meeting with Victorian-based clubs. Again, this is super interesting that the Tigers are finally actually linked to someone. You've got everyone and their dad trying to leave the team and no one wanted to come to the Tigers. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to look into this because at the end of the day, James Peatling is from Greater Western Sydney and they've only offered him a 3-year deal. But I think with Harry Perryman and Isaac Cumming most likely leaving, them probably doing a couple of adjusting. I think if a Victorian club is going to come and offer him 4 years, I wouldn't be surprised if GWS even look to try and match this deal. But the reality is that a team like the Tigers could very well use him. Now, it's hard to say what type of position James Peatling is in the AFL, is because he's practically played all of them. Again, he spent a lot of time with the Giants as a sub. Then I think they played him a bit in the midfield and like on the wing. I think he spent time as like a high half forward. And then the final series, they had him as like another tagger who was helping Toby Bedford run with a couple players. And he was even able to go and hit the scoreboard with one of his games being a goal game and 15 disposals, and another being a 10 disposal game with 2 goals. This is a guy who is getting better and better every week, who went from one of the Giants sub to one of their more prominent midfielders by the end of the season. I don't necessarily know if they're going to let him go, but I think if the Tigers were looking at him, this is still another interesting decision by them, because they might be looking at it where they're thinking, we're like the only team in the AFL right now who doesn't have a tagger. We could bring in Peatling. He could play a bit of high half forward, a bit of wing for us. But ultimately, when we need to go and tag a player, he can go and start in that inside midfield with Taranto, maybe whoever we take at pick 1. Hopper might be in there. Prestia might be in there. Whoever we take with our other picks might be floating in there. We're going to have a lot of players who are going to be going into this inside midfield. And if they want to add another option in a guy like James Peatling, it could maybe be a decision that we go and look at. Again, I still get Vietnam flashbacks as a Tigers fan, knowing we offered, I guess, Tim Taranto 7 years, which is fine, but Jacob Hopper getting a 7-year contract to be kind of a dud right now for the Tigers still hurts my feelings and makes me want to jump off the biggest bridge in Melbourne. It literally does. Like, why did you do this to me, Jacob Hopper? But the reality is midfield for the Tigers is not their strong suit. As mentioned, they have pretty much, I think, easily the worst midfield in the game. Every Richmond fan will tell you they have the worst midfield in the game. Other than Taranto and Hopper, they really only have Prestia, who gets injured every week, right? They had Marlon Pickett in there, who's retired. They had Shea Bolton in there, who is no longer going to be on the team anymore. Not to mention, one of Taranto or Hopper is always injured. Jack Ross was injured after the year. Jack Graham, who is probably going to be leaving. I don't even know what's going on with him anymore. We'll talk about that in another vid. The Tigers are going to be looking for some depth, right? The pick 1, they're going to be taking a midfielder. With their other first-round picks they're going to be getting for these players, a bunch of midfielders are going to be getting taken. I've forgotten the guy's name who I'm talking about for some reason. Am I all there in the head? I don't know. If James Peatling wants to be a consistent, full-time inside midfielder on a lot of money on 4 years, Richmond have the salary cap and the ability to go and do that. But if he wants to play on a contending team where he might get shuffled around here and there and be reduced as like a tagger for the most part, he's going to re-sign with GWS. But again, the thing is, he's from Greater Western Sydney, if I remember right. This is a smart decision by him if he wants to re-sign. A smart decision if he wants to maybe go to the Tigers. But also an interesting thing to theorize, who are these other Melbourne teams that are interested in James Peatling, right? Another team I feel like he will have met with does happen to be St Kilda. They are desperately trying to improve their midfield. We know that Jack McRae has requested a trade there. We know they launched this massive bid to go for Zach Merritt, which I don't think has really gone too far at all. And we know they will probably be looking at drafting a midfielder with their top pick. I wonder if they're arguing to Peatling right now and saying, we think we can make the 8. We just desperately need a midfield. You come to us, we'll give you a 4-year deal. Confirm midfield time. And you can play with Jack Steele, Jack McRae, and whoever we draft. And we can actually try and build something good inside there. St Kilda could very well be one of those teams. Collingwood as well are looking to improve their midfield quite a fair bit. They're interested in his teammate Harry Perryman as well. They could be another team that maybe does come and look at him too. Again, I think Hawthorn have had a go at Harry Perryman in recent time. They're bringing in their backman in Barras and Battle. Do they tell Peatling and be like, well, we think we can add you to this midfield. We're looking for another midfielder. We think we can be like a premiership contender next year. Do you want to come to us? There will be a ton of Melbourne clubs I think will be interested in Peatling and meeting with him. I personally think he'll re-sign with GWS, but I wonder if Richmond are a chance to actually maybe make this happen. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment all of your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. Do you guys like some of these trade rumors and news that I've talked about, or do you guys not? Don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlog channels, which will be getting linked in the description down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.